Any questions before we get started though? Restrooms are out here. Help yourself with more snacks, we've got plenty. And then take it away, guys.
Awesome. Good to see some of you guys back. My name's TJ, that's Joe over there. This is our second year in a row doing the speaker series event with the Metro Parks. We've had a lot of fun with these guys all year long. We did a big river cleanup back in August. Where we're just going to talk about kind of an intro of what we do, like what WaterSafe Ohio does, what we do for the community. And then as we get a couple more people here, we're going to actually try to go live onto our Facebook page, and then we're going to get our presentation started here for you. So our topic today is Inuit kayaking. It's most of our audience today are going to be kayakers in some shape or form, but today's lecture is going to be the Inuits, the ancient people who really kind of modernized kayaking today. So like all modern kayaks stem from these original designs that they made from animal skins and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But we'll get down that route. We're a nonprofit out of Dayton, Ohio, Springfield, Ohio. I live in Columbus, but we do a lot of work in Dayton and Springfield. We've actually did a really big river cleanup out there where we pulled out 25 shopping carts out of the river. It's a 5-mile creek that we really love, and the city of Springfield is having a tough time like keeping it clean, like maintaining it. There's only so much they can do when there's like a homeless problem and all kinds of stuff going on. A lot of the locals told me there were plans to close the park down. And we went in there in April, and we had a scouting run first. We thought we were only going to get 10. That's the only ones we saw. And it turns out there was 25 in a 2.5-mile stretch of river. And we also pulled out 9 propane tanks, a dishwasher, an industry dishwasher. It was one of the ones that had the little thing on the inside of it. Mary strapped that to the front of her kayak, and they were able to pull it out. It was insane. They did. A lot of our guys were whitewater guys. They were doing Z-drag and all kinds of stuff to kind of get those things out of the river. I was the guy that was driving from point A to point B, loading them up 6 at a time on my truck. I'm sure I looked sketchy coming out there. My hazard lights on, driving real slow. I'm like, I promise this is for a good cause, guys. But we're planning to go back. The city of Springfield backed up our efforts. They put us in the Sunday newspaper in early May, which was really big for us. The whole Conservancy District met in a meeting and was aware of our programs, and they've helped us maintain the park even up to this day. 7-8 months later, we get people from our creek that are like, oh, it looks a lot cleaner now. Like, you guys have done a lot. So it's nice to see that the park is still doing its thing. Hi, Keller. Hey. There's a lot of things going on with that, but our nonprofit is mostly focused on just growing our community paddlers. We're not just a whitewater kayak group, we are whitewater kayakers, but we try to cultivate Ohio water sports in all forms. So whether it's stand-up paddle boarding, whether it's like you're getting out on the lake, you know, if you're going on your first river trip, you want to learn to roll, there's a lot going on over there. So you want to give them a little intro on what you do, and you're kind of the pioneer of this lecture, so.
I wanted to get into whitewater, and I just wanted to row kayaks, and I was thinking I'd row kayaks as many ways as I can, and it took me a while to find all the different ways. I finally ran into this kind of kayaking, and I realized they spelled it differently, and then I found a whole nother world of this stuff. They spell it Q-A-J-A-Q as the original translation of kayak, and yeah, just the rolling really got me into it. Now I can do 30, 40 plus rolls, and yeah, the rolling really got me into it.
You'll see later on in the presentation too, because there's like a modern twist on the whole style of Greenland kayaking, which kind of has been lost through the times. You know, it's a really tough, like not too many people know about the Inuit tribe and how they were able to traverse the icy waters of Greenland. And if you don't know, the warmest it gets in that part of the world in the summertime is 43 degrees. That's the warmest it'll ever get in that part of the world. So 4,000 years ago, and all you have is salvaged trees and animals that you hunted to kind of get yourself prepared. I mean, those guys did what, 70 to 100-mile treks in a single day. So anyone that knows Darby Creek, imagine going down Darby Creek, starting from Bell Fountain and then going all the way to Circleville in one day. And it could be probably a 24-hour day, but still, they managed that through, like, they were very climatized to their environment. So they knew, you know, that it wasn't that cold to them just because they understood, like, this is my environment. They were one with the world, basically. They made all their kayaks out of animal skin, seal skin. I think they used even, like, guts from caribou for insulation so they could stay warm. You know, they waterproof their boats and their gear. So it was very, very cool stuff they're doing. We're going to get into this presentation pretty soon. Hey, Tyler, where are you sitting? Do you want to come sit a little closer? I want you to try to go live on my page for me. sorry, part of this, we're trying to have a virtual audience for this as well, so we're coordinating here. We set a 6:30 start time, but I think 6:20 is fine. It gives us a chance to get all the rust dusted off and we can really get into the meat of the presentation. Let me just get on there real quick. So if you've noticed, this is Joe's boat right here. It's a Remix XP9. Joe, you want to tell them a little bit about your boat real quick while I get Tyler all up on here?
I like the whitewater aspect of it, just a little shorter.
Yeah.
What I really like is it's kind of got the sea kayak features.
So anywhere you can get a
Silk bulkhead and the skeg, so this gives me really good resiliency.
The other guys were on their way, but they're.
It makes it really easy for me to rescue myself, because it's got this buoyancy. There's a wall in here that just is all full of air. And then I like the skeg, so I flip it forward, and the skeg goes down to the back, and then I go straight, which increases my speed. And the deck bungees, so this, I see this kind of as like a part whitewater boat, part sea kayak is how I interpret it. I got the deck bungees. I can interpret those into my rescues. I can stick a paddle through here, and that gives me a little extra stability.
You can.
That's kind of why I like the,
So we kinda
I do a little bit of.
I'll give you like a thumbs up.
Do the whitewater and the dress, the Inuit rolling and everything.
Awesome. So we're gonna kind of get this started here now. So this, like, cover page, I decided on this one because, Joe, what's he holding right there? What's that he's using it?
That would be the harpoon for hunting. Now, the harpoon's interesting because when they throw it, it pierces the animal, and the harpoon head comes off and then lodges, and then there's rope that go, or sinew that connects the harpoon head to the wood or whatever you would call that, and then that's would a lot of time be tied to the kayak, or tied to this right here is would be a seal bladder, and they fill it with air. That would be used as their bobber, or they'd also take these and they could fill their kayak with
I'm
them.
going live, I'm not
And
gonna
that
be
would
live
give
the
them
entire
location.
presentation, but through most of it, when we cut it,
Wanna
we
see
just
if
got
it would make it
still
more safer.
photos of like us talking with everyone about nonprofit.
If you run a nonprofit, I'd pay you for doing this.
Yeah, you can see
I really appreciate it.
the line here. The line would be connected to the harpoon.
I think I'm good with it. Really?
And then so when the harpoon shaft came off, it would create drag and resistance for making it easier to chase.
All right, you want to go ahead and go live, Tyler?
What are they doing to catch it?
They'd drag it back to shore and roll it up onto the ice. Yeah, they'd use all of it. They use the organs for avatox.
And obviously, this is a modern picture. People in the native land, they go out and do this every day.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like their outdoors. A lot of people that are local to the area are very familiar with this tradition. Goes back, what, like 4,000 years? Say
Yeah.
4 to 5 at least for that area. There's been a lot of migrations. There was a lot of climate change that, shifted where they had to settle and all that. But generally, this tradition has stayed, and these people were the reasons why we have, kayaks built the way they are. They're all shaped. It was more of a stealthy thing back then. They weren't trying to, European style paddles that were like the more paddles that you see today. They were made for like speed and agility, whereas the Greenland paddles are made for stealth.
Where
They could be quiet, they could hunt the animals.
Slide it off to the side, that way they can kind of try to hide themselves a little better.
And extremely buoyant for when you would have to roll. They wouldn't want to have to roll, but there's times when, you're either wrestling with an animal or you hit a glacier, there's anything that could knock you over, and they crafted those so they could roll up as fast as possible. And I learned this past weekend how to do a number of the Greenland rolls with that paddle, and I'll tell you, the buoyancy is unbelievable. And you can see why they crafted them, just because they didn't want to be in the water very long, and then the forward finishing, coming up on forward finishing. I teach people to lean back when I teach the roll, because it's modern, and that's, the way to get up now. But they were learned to come up forward facing, to keep all the icy water off your helmet, like there's a lot of reasons why, just to keep the water away and to keep them insulated. So let's see if I can get a slide here. Okay, so right here, this guy is an Inuit paddler clad in waterproof skin clothing, demonstrates kayak competition skills at Sissamut. Do you know how to pronounce that, Joe?
I think you got it.
Sissamut, Greenland. So this is kind of a modern twist. If you'll look, both the boat and his gear is made in animal skin. So it waterproofs the boat, it waterproofs what he's wearing right there. Now there's a bunch of layers you can do on that. There's, seal skin, there's caribou. I think think even like bone, ivory were used for like, that's more for weapons, I would say, rather than the kayak. But if you needed like a pointy edge or maybe some drawstrings to kind of like weave in your spray skirt.
They make their undershirt out of intestines a lot of the time, and,
Guts, intestines,
yeah,
all
they would
that.
use bird bones to make their needles, so they could get the holes really, small enough to make them, get them waterproof. They'd fold it over, I think they'd double stitch it, they'd stitch it, and then they'd fold it and stitch it again. They'd use bird bones, because they were a lot smaller.
It's amazing to think, because they didn't really have, a lot of warmth or anything to kind of shelter
Yeah.
them. A lot of times, like I said earlier, they would traverse 70 to 100 miles in a single day. And the only way that's possible is if you, create your suit and make it so that it's warm, but yet dry. We talk about in modern times, a modern dry suit, right? We talk about it keeps you dry, not warm. So kind of the same concept there. You have to, use what you did. And at that point, it was like animal guts and remains and all that. It would really, you'd be surprised. And in the cold weather, it's not going to really deteriorate. It's going to be really nice and cold and keep you warm.
And they call this a tulik. It's like a hooded sweatshirt or whatnot that seals them to the boat instead of the skirts in more modern what we use.
Yeah, modern times we use I don't think we have one in here, but it's a neoprene spray skirt. So like they have the bungee, very grand bungee type material to kind of seal the our cockpits, but they didn't have that back then. They had to get more primitive with it, and a lot of the stuff they used, it was like what, driftwood, hardwood, like salvaged wood from trees and all that to shape their paddle. And even the boat frames, you're gonna see on the next slide, where it kind of breaks down how the boats were kind of crafted. But all in all, I think it was drawstrings, right, where you can kind of clad yourself there. This one's a more modern twist on it. This is probably from like 10 years ago. But if you think about 4,000 years ago with the same kind of design, it was just seal skin, animal skin, all kinds of good stuff on there.
Yeah, I'd like to get a tulik so I could bring to events like this, but I'd have to order it from Canada or Europe.
Joe's also going to be making his own boat here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So once he gets famous, he's going to kind of clad it on himself. And I
I'm
told
gonna
him
start
he
with a
can
model.
carve it in there. What's up, gentlemen? Welcome. It's all good. We know these guys. So what did you just bring me there, Joe?
This is the Norsac. Go back one picture.
Go back one picture. Got it.
So this is what they'd use to throw the harpoon. They'd get the harpoon down into here. You can see it's be right here underneath. And that way they could get further distance. They'd hold it and this is how they would launch their harpoons. They'd also, if they capsize, they could also use this to roll. It'd be like a hand paddle. Pretty neat.
They probably crafted that out of some bone products too, right?
Yeah,
They made their own.
Probably a lot of wood. Bone might sink, but it probably did. This one was 3D printed.
And what's that called?
And Norsac. And Norsac, you guys want to take a look at it? Pass it around.
Yeah, of course.
We can just go this way.
So when they originally had the idea to build the first kayak, the idea wasn't for recreation. It wasn't for, hey, let's get from point A to point B. They were hunting vessels. They were used to, because they had to stay, they had to stay hydrated. They had to eat. So whatever was around, driftwood, like I said, steel skin frames, which help with silence with movement, icy waters, and then more than just a boat. You can see right here, this is how the kayak. This is the original spelling of the word kayak, where it derives from. The deep cultural symbol representing a deep connection to the sea and their ingenuity. Like I said, it was more of a unique blend. It's like survival, cultural identities, that everyone in Greenland knew who these people were. They're the pioneers of their time. The only way they survived was by crafting these vessels and getting out on the water and getting to warmer weather, because climate change, there was a lot of migrations that took place during this time. They basically didn't have any time to rest. It was just nonstop. We're gonna go here, there, we're gonna hunt, we're gonna discover new land. And it's all thanks to these original frame. This is the base frame of it, right?
Yeah.
They crafted the seal skin piece around it. I don't know if this is an exact
Yeah.
wrap of the seal, but it's kind of an idea of how, like, a step process, how you build the frame out of wood, and then you would get the skin, and then when you would make your, torso or whatever you're gonna wear up here, they would use the draw lines to kind of hook themselves in there, like needle, kind of fold it over twice. And
And
It
they
would
didn't really
essentially
have
waterproof
seats.
yourself, so the water wouldn't get in the boat, it wouldn't touch your skin. The only time it would touch you is if your hands go under, or if your face goes under.
You can see they didn't really have seats, they kind of just sat on the floor. And for dive braces, they didn't really have dive braces, they had what they called a mastic. And it would probably be a piece of wood, and you could just slide it in, and it would wedge your legs tightly into the boat, so you were firm. Yeah, mastic, no seats.
You imagine taking a kayak 75 miles in one day with no seat? I can't imagine. It's not even like you can take breaks too, you know, because you're on. So I've been asked this question recently because you think that it takes them so long. How do they go 70 miles? How do they do it in the dark? They don't have lights. They don't have any of that. How did these people traverse, you know, the water in the dark? They were very well versed on the stars. They were pretty much astronomers. They knew how to use the moonlight. They knew what days to go, what days to stay put. And obviously weather and stuff like that would get in the way. But they're smarter than us.
Sometimes they were going out and they felt the wind, they'd go off the wind, like it would get real foggy, and they just have to know where they were going off the wind direction, because they couldn't, you know, it could get so foggy in the snow, or it'd be heavy snow. And
Could
they
be
would-
glacier markers
they
and
could
stuff
just-
too, like
yeah.
natural, like just points to kind of navigate.
Surprisingly, they'd find their way around.
Yep, they had no technology, no, you know, no compasses, no navigational systems, and they were kind of able to find where they wanted to go, even in the dark. You know, and I'm sure they hunted in the dark too, which would make it more of a stealthy thing. You probably catch more,
Yeah,
depending on what you're
Northern
hunting.
Lights, that may have helped them navigate a little bit.
Absolutely, Northern Lights is a good one too. Had been a beautiful view,
Yeah.
can't imagine. But it's what were one of those great migrations that you were talking about?
The Thule migration, in probably about 900 AD, they're big technologically advanced. They got a lot more smarter. They were able to, their communities grew bigger. In 900, they all moved. They spread out all over the Arctic. They started heading towards the east a lot. Under less than 200 years from Alaska, they discovered Greenland. They went all the way across. And it was interesting because once they got over there, they realized they found a different type of people. That were the Dorset people, and they were the Paleo Inuit. They come through first, and then a different kind of Inuit came across. You know, the Thule came across and ran into them. So they were they had differences. The Thule were in big groups, where the Paleo Inuit were in smaller groups, and they were fading off. You know, they were at about that time they were kind of fading off. There's no real history of what happened to the Dorset people, but they may have got thin population and then kind of just bred into the Inuit, possibly.
Yeah, with all the migrations going on, there was like cultural blending that happened with the same concept, same idea. They all followed the same, you know, rules. I'm sure they passed it down. I know someone had asked earlier how they get these on there. You know, that looks like the head of something, right? That he's got on the back of there.
I think that would be a bladder, I would think, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, they had to get real creative with how they would get obviously their food. They had to bring it
Flotation,
somewhere.
that's like
Yeah.
a bobber right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, seal. Narwhals was another one they hunted,
Yeah.
big animals
You know,
too.
narwhals.
They used the harpoons, probably like to kind of dismember them a little bit and then get them piece by piece in the boat or tie them down. A lot of different methods that were used, but they had a great.
Narwhals, seals, polar bears, walrus, yeah, all that stuff.
A lot of things that modern humans wouldn't even hunt to this day.
They did a lot of fishing as well. The women would do a lot of fishing. They would collect seaweed, and seaweed was in the diet, and berries, and very little berries. I think they would collect some berries as well.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to this slide because there is a connection between the boat and the paddle. We're gonna kind of talk about the paddles a little bit. We brought a little assortment of Greenland paddles and then a standard European whitewater paddle just to kind of show the differences. Let me see if I have the correct slide on there. Does anybody have any questions so far? So far, so good?
Isn't there a way to mimic harpooning a walrus with rope and a kayak, sea kayak?
I mean, like
a competition,
the
Yeah.
walrus pool.
rolling walrus pool?
Yeah, they'll get like 6 guys, they'll put a rope on a harpoon, or put a rope on a kayak with a guy in it, and 6 guys will take off running with the rope, and they'll drag the kayak sideways to imitate a walrus pool, and see who can go the farthest. You know, you get points if you can whatnot. They try to pull them under, get them capsized.
Awesome. So right into the paddles, you notice we spelled it the original spelling. For those that missed, that's the original derivation of the word kayak. The Inuit people constructed their paddles from salvaged driftwood and hardwood, shaping it by hand and focusing on the long, narrow blades with a short shaft designed to maneuver through the narrow, icy channels, which made rolling much easier. Now, when you look at the difference between these two, you can see we're a very narrow shaft and a very long shaft compared to the European model. The reason why the Europeans wanted to go fast. They were very agile. They wanted to do speed, intensity. You know, getting the kayaking was starting to become more of a competitive thing.
Instant
Whereas
power.
this is more of a stealthy option where you can move quietly and you can really, like we've done it in the pool. You know, there's so many things where you can just. And this thing is more buoyant. It's a lot lighter too than the average paddle. If any of you've ever felt a Greenland paddle, we'll pass this around. But it's really, they sculptured that to where, you know, you can really move stealthy. You can put it away if you need to, or even use it. I'm sure some of them used it as weapons, originally
Yeah.
made from, you know, driftwood, hardwood.
In Siberia, some of them, they have like Euroblade type paddles, and they put knives on the end for the elk. They
That's
would,
more almost like a bayonet.
yeah, so they would set up in the river, they knew where the rivers would be shallow, and they knew where the elk would cross. So when the elk would cross the river, they could ambush them. Would be one tactic for hunting elk.
Yeah, sometimes your weapon is your paddle in that aspect. They probably use it for both.
Yeah, they would have spears and harpoons, but some of the Siberians have knives on the end. Yeah.
They have the same amount of offset choices, you know, 15, 30.
No, I don't think they have any offsets
There's no
at
offset,
all.
yeah. Most of them, so when I learned this, when you're rolling, you know, it's kind of just like straight on the water. All the buoyancy comes from these shafts right here. Like all this is made for is just to kind of have your hand move. You can manipulate it any kind of way. Whereas if you do it with one of these, see how there's a lot of dive in the blade. It's really sharp on the ends. It slices through the water a lot easier than one of these. I don't know if you've ever put one of these in the pool, but you can't even submerge it under the water. I mean, it does not want to go. You got to try really, really hard. Even if you do get under there, it's not. The surface tension is very strong.
And I feel if I want to get purchase, I just loosen my grip, and then it just like flattens itself out for me.
So this one's Joe's paddle. This one was actually made for you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Edgewater surf.
Yeah, it's made out of old growth western red cedar, so the tree was at least 300 to 500 years old when it was harvested. And the old western red cedar is significant to the Inuit. They believe it has healing, protection, purification properties, a long list of extra properties. And I'd say they were into shamanism and the connection to the spiritual world, the animals and all that. So their connection to the trees, you know, so the trees had spirits and the trees would be 500 years old, or the western red cedar tree can actually be up to 2,000 years old. So you would get a really good, you know, connection with the natural world with a paddle tree that was so old, you know, it was significant to them.
Yeah, their entire setup had spiritual significance from what they wore on their clothes to the boat they paddled to, you know, their weapons. Everything was crafted from the earth, so they felt like they were one with the earth essentially. And that puts that spiritual connection to the survival connection, where it's like we're surviving, but it's, you know, this is our earth. So that was very important to them. This one is a Greenland paddle, but it's carbon fiber, right?
Yeah.
This is a carbon fiber one. You wouldn't believe that it's about the same weight as this one. It's a little bit different, doesn't have as sharp of an edge right here. It's kind of have a more rounded edge. This is a very modern style of it. You can see it's kind of got some Euro inspiration with the curved blade right here. Still operates the same. It still does everything that a Greenland paddle would want you to do. What would you say is the biggest difference, Joe, with an edge or a curve? Is there much of a difference?
I don't really know on the edge difference for that. Just slicey and how
It's
it
more
guides.
or less a personal preference, kind of like how modern paddles are. Some people like offset, some people like straight shafts. It really is, I'm sure the designers kind of made it however they wanted to. So like a curved one might slice through the water a little better. Yeah, question?
Does it have the same buoyancy as the wooden one?
The wooden one might float a little bit better.
I think it just
But it's
depends
still,
on the size
the
of the
carbon's
blade.
still got pretty good buoyancy though.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference is just the size. Even if this was a carbon fiber, but a little bit wider, I think it would kind of operate about the same. Really, it's personal preference. This one's just more traditional, made from wood, you know, where this one, just everything's carbon fiber in the modern day, so everyone likes to make things. You know, this is also a detachable one, which can be really convenient for.
Then they're like, in Greenland, they got their boats really small, and their paddles were a little thinner. And like the Aleutians had bigger boats, but their paddles were also about an inch wider. I think that's interesting.
That is pretty interesting. I wonder if that's
Yeah.
just a personal preference or if that was like a culture thing.
The Aleutians had they did a lot of tandems when they would hunt, so you'd have the guy in the front with the well, I'm sure they would both paddle. Both people in the boat would paddle, but the guy in the front could get the harpoon while the guy in the back would still paddle. And then in the 1700s, the Russians got interested in the Aleutians, and then they started making three-seater kayaks, where the Russian explorers that were charting the maps or, you know, diplomats and stuff, so they could ride in the middle in the third seat, while the Aleutians could paddle them around. So they had different boats, three-seaters and two-seaters.
Yeah, they evolved through time with how they crafted their boats. They made like bigger ones as they went, because it started off as just like a singular thing, but they realized they could do it together. They made tandem boats. There's a lot of.
If I was hunting whales, I'd want to be in a tandem.
I would also want to be in the tandem boat hunting a whale. Because you're gonna see here, I have an artist rendering of what it kind of looked like. Because the water is most likely not gonna be super flat and nice and peaceful. A lot of times it's gonna be turbulent. So that also is why rolling is an important skill to have, Greenland kayakers. So here you see, we don't have any pictures of what happened back in the day, but this is an artist rendering of an Inuit paddler hunting a narwhal. So if you wanted to see like kind of like a size reference, pretty much, that's like a small one, I would say. That's a smaller one compared to like some of the original whales and seals. Even the seals are probably like that or bigger.
With that ivory, that goes pretty far back into the narwhal too. So when they took that ivory out, it would go pretty deep.
You can see it's the same kind of concept. So is this kind of like reeling for the harpoon?
It looks like a reel, but I'm not familiar with that.
It looks like it's attached to the harpoon. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you catch it, you cast it out, you can catch it and use that to kind of pull it back. I probably pulled your boat a bunch of times, I imagine. I don't really know how they were able to wrestle that thing.
Yeah, be careful with these. They had rolls just for those. Like if you got tangled in the line, they had rolls just for, you could roll with one hand if you had to. I can do a number of rolls with one hand.
Yeah, towards the end, we got a modern twist on this, and you're gonna get to see they do competitions in modern day where you can get scored for those kind of crazy rolls. But that was the reason why, was for, you know, there's shotgun roll, like you said, which is kind of the same thing, and you're holding it like this, and, you know, you get recoil fall over. That's more modern, they didn't have guns back then, but that's still evolved through time, when hunting became more of like a, you know, when they were hunting with firearms or harpoons, same concept, because anything can happen. You can flip over, get tangled in your line, but they were prepared. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were hunting big game, small game, anything. Usually they would go in like packs, right? Like tries to kind of
Yeah,
try
they
to
would
ambush
hunt.
them, I imagine.
If they were doing something bigger like this, if they would hunt seals by themselves, but yeah, I think if you're doing a whale or narwhal, you want to be in
Probably bring a couple friends with you, because I wouldn't want to hunt that by myself, as skilled as I would think that I am, because you never know, it could go wrong. And having, like, they were very well versed on being with each other, and it was like a family pack mentality for them as well.
very community.
Yeah, very, very strong community, and they used the earth every way that they could. And like this whole concept evolved through time, so we got through all those generational changes. There was climate change, there was migrations,
Yeah.
but the ideas were all passed down the same, so the traditions stayed through for those thousands and thousands of years. And even today, you know, if you go to some cities, I forget the towns, but there's some villages around there that do, maybe not competitions, under the Greenland National Championships are there, but they have like beaches and stuff where they just kind of teach to their kids. You'll see like 5-10-year-olds out there doing stuff like this, just because
They would teach, a lot of, they'd start you out on ropes. They'd put the ropes up, and then you'd climb onto a rope. You'd learn how to roll around a rope. And then that would tie into rolling a kayak somehow.
That's cool. Kind of get your like body used to
Yeah.
the feeling of like being turned
With
here
your
and there.
hips, getting your body and then your hips over, or your hips and then your body, like different patterns.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see a tradition passed on for so long. You know, it's not super relevant around these parts of the world, but at least up in their neck of the woods, that's like every day. I'm sure if you go to one of those villages, a person knows a Greenland kayaker somewhere. There's a lot that they tied in, and there's a they just spent a long time passing down their knowledge to their kids and made sure they were safe about it. But it's a very cool concept. Interesting ways to stay warm. Now, modern days, us whitewater kayakers, we do what we can to stay warm when it's super cold outside, and we think the water's icy, but I can't imagine how cold that water is in northern Greenland.
Having no choice but to learn in cold water.
Yeah. It's definitely a learning curve. You do it once and you'll never forget it. A good way to learn your rolls in icy cold water. You're more likely to get a roll in icy cold water than in a warm pool.
I got a question. So
Yeah.
you mentioned double kayaks for, whaling. What happens, Joe, if you're in a double kayak and you flip over with another person?
You have to, they both have to roll.
Is that possible?
Yeah, yeah.
He's done,
Yeah,
what'd you do in the summertime? It
When
was
I
school
roll
bus
with people,
rolling.
they ask, how am I gonna know what to do? And I'm like, I can just feel you. Like, if you just do what you normally do, I'm gonna know I can just feel where you're at, and I can just match you in that moment, wherever.
Yeah, he can adapt to a person depending on how because I've seen it. I've seen people kind of flail around because they don't know what's happening. It's a tandem boat, they're sitting in the front, Joe's sitting in the back. And he can literally feel the water, kind of feel the pressure that they're going with, and then kind of work his way back up. I'm convinced that he has ancestors that hunted whales back
I
in
wait
the
for
day.
them, I can feel where they are.
I'm convinced you have ancestors that hunted whales. Because that's kind of what that is, right? If you have something strapped to your kayak that's big and a wave flips you over, you hit a glacier, you knock over, you still gotta roll up. You got an extra 40, 50 pounds on your boat, but you gotta.
The connection to the natural world, and I mean, that really just applies to all kayaking, like, just being able to connect with nature, feel the water, and, you know, yeah.
The nature connection is, for me, is the most important part, because even back then, to this day, people who love the river, who really love and can feel that, it can be different sometimes. Whitewater, it's hard to be one with nature when you're going down turbulent rapids, but realizing where you are, it's the same connection. It's like kayak, you love nature, you're a big fan of the outdoors, it all kind of blends in together in the same concept. So I think the next slide shows our modern twist on it. Let's see what we got here. Thanks again to the Metro Park staff for helping us get this computer presentation for us today. Oh, absolutely. Last year, we did a seminar here on just winter paddling in general. So we brought a bunch of gear in. It was a bunch of dry tops and wetsuits and all that. And it was kind of just, in general, how to paddle during the winter. This one, we wanted to put more of like a history lesson on it. Okay, yeah, there we go. So who's that guy up there? That's that guy right there. So Joe's one of the sole people keeping this sport alive around these areas. So like I said earlier, in modern times, skilled paddlers compete at the Greenland National Championships. Inuit kayak recovery skills are tested and scored by judges, usually on a point-based format. So similar to how they do it in modern times with like freestyle championships where you do tricks in the wave and they score it and give you points. Same thing in Greenland, but they focus on the rolls and the recovery, and you'd be amazed at how many there are. This guy knows almost every single one of them. He has a list that I have to keep every time we do demos together. But the techniques such as the Sailor Greenland roll, there's more complex ones, the storm roll, I learned that one. Hallucinate, right? Okay, I'm having a really hard time pronouncing that one. But forward finishing hand rolls, these competitions help preserve, maintain the ancient cultural heritage. And then coastal villages such as Nuuk, many of the locals practice Eskimo rolls all year long, like I was talking about. This is nothing new to them. This is just, they're every day. But in modern times, if you want to go compete, learn a couple things, there's so many. I mean, I named a couple, but there's storm roll, there's forward finish, back to back. And kind of show them a couple of those, like,
Yeah.
go behind there. We don't have a pool, I can't show you a roll, but there's a lot of like.
So, probably basic, you start with the sweep, so it go from the front of the boat, like that.
Joe doesn't mind getting on the floor, he does it all the time.
So if I was upside down right here, I'd get my eyes, palm, shoulders, face up, and I'd twist out, but I'd stay flat on the surface. Once I got the paddle out wide, I could just drive my right leg up and my left leg down once it rotates. And I'd finish laying back, brace, and I'd just slide right up. That'd be the Greenland standard. Then you got the reverse sweep where I would put the paddle in the back.
Still learning this one.
And I'd fall upside down. I'd end up upside down kind of in this position. And from here I just keep my ice palm shoulders face down, and I'll get my left hand into my belly button, to about here. Then I just lift the paddle up or whatnot if it's not already up on the surface. And then from here I can just kind of push down and rotate the legs and close my body. Pretty cool finishing reverse sweep. That's one of my favorites. And then the storm roll, I probably could have just got the boat.
He brought the boat for a reason.
And storm roll is one of the favorites. It finishes forward with your eyes down, and I really like it because I can just keep the paddle nice and low. So I want to kind of stay as tight and tucked as I can. Rotate the paddle out, and then from here, I'm able to use my left hand more so than my right hand, so I don't got to put weight over here as much. But I do use both. And then from here, if I'm just upside down, and this I think is a really good rule for lots of reasons, but I just push down and pull myself up.
It's kind of where it gets its name, the storm roll. Think about like you're in the icy waters and it's storming, there's a lot of rain. Roll, you don't want to be leaned back because you don't want that icy water on your face. You come up forward finishing, so all the water, when you see it done in a pool, you come up forward finishing, all the water just falls off, your helmet or your headdress or whatever they had. Anything to keep the icy water off your face. Because I'm telling you, when it's negative, however cold it is out there, that's the last thing you want, is that water on your face for the next 65 miles or so.
Yeah, I think storm roll is very safe and for comparison to other rolls because you're just tucked so tight the whole time. And I'd like to see that storm roll get brought to the whitewater community.
And seeing rolls like that really kind of emphasizes the difference in like a European paddle versus a Greenland paddle, because those kind of rolls are a lot harder with a European paddle. I've learned, because I learned in it with a European paddle, some of those rolls, and it's just the buoyancy and the surface tension. So the power face of the blade, on European paddles, you kind of have to catch the water. This is called a scull, where you hit the water like this. It's a really good way to have that surface tension. These, you could just plant your hand out there. As long as you're sitting there, you can kind of manipulate it and feel the buoyancy of the water. That's how I learned to do a static brace, which is where you're down kind of all the way over, just in there and just sitting there. And I was learning with this one and I couldn't figure it out. My body felt real tense. I felt like I was tightening my core the whole time. I was really struggling to hold myself up there, and it's just simply because I didn't have something like this to kind of keep me floating.
But once he gets used to it with this, he'll be able to do it with that. It's just a little easier to learn.
Yeah, it's very important. Like learning, I was scared of these when I first was getting into kayaking and learning to roll. I saw one of these at a pool practice and I didn't even want to touch it. I was like, it feels light. I feel like it's not going to save. And I did one roll with it and I couldn't believe the surface tension that it has. And it really kind of opens up the possibilities for, maybe someone who's struggling with a roll, who wants to learn, is having a tough time. I recommend trying with one of these because it'll really change up. It'll change the whole game.
It's a lot stronger than it looks, for sure.
It's not really built for speed. You wouldn't do a motocross race with one of those, but it's still like, it really teaches you how to manipulate the water and what it really takes to engage your hips. Because the most important thing when you're rolling is your hips. A lot of people think it's a power move. You have to use your upper body. You have to come through it really strong, but it's all technique. And this right here really shows you that you come up and there's no forward movement at all. It's just using your hips and using your torso and moving it. And it's stealthy too. That's kind of the whole idea with what these guys were doing. They were trying to be stealthy. They didn't want to scare the animals away. They wanted to be really slick and stealthy and then kind of get away. And if they do fall over, just get up as fast as they can. Cool.
And you can learn either way with either, you can learn with either paddle. When I started, I learned all the most rolls with the Euro blade before I even got to touch.
A recreational Euro blade at that. It was a little
Yeah.
detachable one.
Yeah.
Remember, you
Yeah.
could bend it. It wasn't the best blade out there.
Yeah.
Travis?
Can I just say, when we first met Joe, it's very impressive in the water. When we first saw Joe at Darby Bend Lakes, we were like, oh my God, this guy doesn't know how to kayak. And then we realized what he was doing, and we were like, wow, actually this is a kayak god. Like, it's very impressive, like what he can do when you see it in water, and just how fluid and smooth, like what he's saying. Like, I would be out there flailing, I'm sure, trying to throw myself. So it's nice to hear, like, oh, it's actually like hip movements, because you see him, he's like elegant, almost dance-like while he's doing it. Whereas, like, I feel like anytime I've ever tried anything close to that, it's more like.
it opens up the doors for a lot of possibilities.
Yeah,
I learned one of the agreement roles, and I did it at one of the pool sessions, and almost everybody was asking me like, how did you learn that? You make it look so easy, and I'm like, I promise you, it can be easy. It's just getting the stuff in the right spot and trusting. You know, there's a lot of trust that goes on. As an instructor, I look for, you know, how nervous are people when they're about to go underwater? Are they stiff? You know, when they roll over, I feel the blade, I wiggle it out. This is what I want to look for. You need to be nice and loose and relaxed. As uncomfortable of a situation as that is, you think I'm strapped in, I'm underwater, and I'm upside down. So it's kind of there's a lot going on there when that happens for the first time. But once, you know, someone who's going to roll like this is going to roll a lot better than someone who's really tense and is like, I feel like I just got to, you know, tighten my body up and then, like you said, flail around a little bit. All it is just being one with the water. It's a spiritual connection. It goes all the way back 4,000 years. You learn to be with the water, and then the water will be with you.
It's very common to have police officers or ODNR officers stop and ask you, are you okay? We got a call about Jim who's wondering if you're all right.
Joe likes to go to, they have Jazz and Rib Fest downtown, where he'll float into the river and he'll just start doing his thing. He'll draw a crowd instantly. Half the crowd is amazed, the other half is like, he sucks. Like, why does he keep falling over? He doesn't know how to kayak.
Help me.
But once they see, you know, he comes back up and he's like waving, he'll flip the boat over and I'm seriously paddle the boat while he's upside down, and instantly everyone's like, what is he doing? Is that possible? You can do that? And
There are people yelling like, rescue your friend, and they're like, he's fine, and they're like, no, and they're about to take this and jump in the river, and they're like, stop, he's fine.
He was
And
at
they're
Battle
like,
Fest.
Joe, stop for a minute, and I'm like,
He
what's
was at
up?
Battle
Like,
Fest
they're about
this
to come
year
swimming
in
after
the
you.
Ohio
I'm like,
River. He rolled over upside down, paddled upside down in front of Water Rescue, Cincinnati Water Rescue. The lady about gasped for air, couldn't believe he was doing it. It's the funniest thing ever.
yeah, it's great. You got to have fun with it, because that's really what kind of gets people's attention with this stuff. You know, a lot of this stuff could be boring to the average person, but when you see it in person, you see it in the water, it really kind of changes your perception of like what the essence of kayaking really is. Because it really goes back to like a hunting tradition, where it's all these people were trying to do was just eat. And thanks to that, and the fact that they continued the tradition for thousands of years and did everything they could to preserve it, now we have, you know, with all the technology and that goes into making, we have carbon fiber boats now, which is insane to think about. You have a kayak that weighs less than 20 pounds. You can hold it on your hand like this, and it does everything that a regular kayak would do. I wouldn't recommend smacking into a rock with one of those going super fast. You know, it might fold up on you. But they repair them. You know, the hard plastic ones, it's all the same concept. The same with the bow and the stern and the edging, everything you needed to kind of get through the water was set right there. Cool, so I think the next one might be our Q&A, but we'll take a look and see.
I like to talk about, like hunting walruses, for example. Walruses run in packs, and they would put up a shield wall to, you know, try to defend their young. And so, say you did harpoon a walrus and was trying to separate it from the others could want to fight, but they mate for life. So one walrus is going to have a mate that'll come, you know, really try to defend that walrus. And a walrus could be 6 tons, you know, or 3 tons, I think, 6,000 pounds. So that would be pretty interesting, getting a walrus. I mean, yeah. And I mean, another one would be a polar bear. So I did some thinking, like, how would they hunt a polar bear? And I'm, you know, trying to figure out out. And so I was watching this movie that was in Inuit language. It wasn't even in English at all. And one of the guys by himself got a polar bear, but how he did it was while the polar bear was swimming. He came up and got it and I was like, that would be a little more vulnerable. But I also know the polar bear can swim for 6 miles an hour for an extended period of time, which is probably faster than a kayak. But that's interesting stuff. Different things, they had different tactics, they had different styles of paddling for hunting different creatures.
I got here a little late. Did you have a slide at the beginning with a map of like where you're talking about?
No.
Is this all in Greenland?
It all kind of starts, so like kind of depends where you start at. I would go back to the paleo. This get kind of, well, I'm trying not to be too boring with all the paleo Inuits, or you can call them pre-Dorset. They come, say, 20,000 BC to 13,000 BC from Siberia. And then they ended up just moving right along through, and they ended up on Eastern, if you, however you do Eastern and the North, you know, you're so far north, it's hard to say what's East and West. But they ended up in the Greenland and the Labrador area, the Dorset people did there. And then the Thule people, they originated from Alaska, 900 AD, and they worked their way across to the east also. And you had the Yupik people. I don't know if I can give their good dates, but the Yupik went from Alaska all the way to Siberia. So that was a bigger region, but inside the Yupik, you had the Aleutian island chain, and they were kind of their own thing in the island chain.
Let's start with the E.
A-L-E-U-T, Aleutian. And the Aleutians, they're like mountaintops in the ocean there, in the Pacific Ocean, so it's very rough, like hard to land, very hard to land. Rough, hostile seas there.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. Yeah, you try to think, that's like the last thing on your mind when you're thinking about how cold the water is and how turbulent and how there's no destination, there's just like open water. And you would think the last thing you want is a turbulent, but it's gotta be rough waters, especially if you're just traversing in a piece of wood.
Yeah, that's probably why their boats were a little bit larger and their paddles were a little bit bigger. Their environment was a little different.
And do you think they would roll just to avoid certain waves crashing into them? Because I've seen modern sea kayakers see a big wave coming, they'll just roll real quick, the wave will go over, and then they'll roll back up, like real easily.
Because the water's going one way, and if you like get under it, it helps.
Yeah, I've seen that in modern times, so I imagine there was like a tsunami wave or something happening in the ancient times, they had to find a way to get away with it, because you don't want to get carried by one of those, turn your boat sideways, it's gonna be a rough ride. Turn on, try to like surf it. Have you seen sea kayakers surf waves up on Lake Erie? They will catch it, the wave will come, they'll turn around, they'll start paddling, and they catch the wave, and then they'll ride it like almost all the way to shore. I don't know how to do that yet. I only know how to surf in a playboat, which is a real small one, and like a recirculating wave, but I would like to catch a wave on Lake Erie. I feel like that'd be a fun time. So real quick, guys, we're gonna do a Q&A at the very end, but if you're interested, February 21st, we're gonna be in Fairborn at Wright State University. There's gonna be a lot of fun things going on there. Every 2 years, they have the Adventure Summit, which is like one of the biggest Midwestern outdoor expos other than Outdoor X, but it's actually indoors, it's in Wright State. And we'll be set up on Saturday, we're gonna have our booth up all day, and there's also gonna be a schedule of paddling demonstrations that we're gonna be doing down there as well. So that's gonna be a super fun time. We try to keep things going all year long, so if you want a list of upcoming events, we have our Facebook page that has a list of all the ones upcoming. We plan to go to Delaware and have a presentation there. That one's gonna be more focused on our event calendar though, because like I said, we have another big river cleanup planned for Springfield coming up in April, and we're in the planning stages of going back there and doing that again. And anything else you're interested in is going to be on that page. We have a lot of reels on there. If you have YouTube, I recommend getting on Joe's YouTube channel because he has a lot of fun paddling videos on there. And you get to see where he does. You know, he goes, like I said, he goes to Jazz Rip Fest. He goes to all these places and paddles. And you can see that. He's got all of our demos on there, which I appreciate because Facebook deletes your live stream after 30 days. I didn't learn that until recently. So I was trying to look and find our old streams. I couldn't find them. But this guy had them all saved onto a thing for me, so we were able to kind of look through.
My demos playlist.
Yeah, I really appreciate you for that. It really helps out. And then, so YouTube channel, and then before anybody leaves, we have a lot of cool things over there. One of the main focuses of our lesson today was on whales. That's what they are, right? Or seals, I'm sorry. So seals. Everyone can take one of these little seals on their way out. They're glow in the dark. There's a bunch of different ones. Some of them are laying on their back. Some of them are laying on the front. Some of them are kind of spread out like that. But feel free to take one of those.
The Inuit would get the walrus ivory and make art out of them. So you can pretend that's little walrus ivory seal.
That's what we've been going with.
But they're actually 3D printed glow in the dark.
Yeah, those are real nice. We got stickers. There's event brochures over here, kind of pamphlets that talks about what we do as an organization. And then there's business cards for each of us. I have my business card. Joe also has a business card. It has our personal phone number, our contact info on there. So feel free to always get a hold of us, guys. We try to operate all year long. We're very experienced paddlers, and we love sharing our knowledge with the paddling community. And whether you want to learn to roll, whether you just want to learn more about this stuff, or if you just want to get on the lake and paddle one day, try to figure out what kind of gear you want. We try to stay active this time of year because it's tough to get out. Once spring starts and summer starts, we do stuff at the Olentangy River, which runs a handful of times. We try to have trips down there. There's parks around here. Prairie Oaks is a good one if you want to just get on the lake. We're working on kind of setting up, I want to do a safety seminar down there. Maybe I'll ask you about that later, Travis, but a little safety seminar at Prairie Oaks, because one of the biggest things we've noticed is people go to these big lakes, these metro parks. It's April, it's May, it's warm. I want to take my kayak out, but I don't have a life jacket. And it's one of the biggest things I've noticed, or it's in the bag. So we want to kind of have a seminar there, kind of just, a lot of people don't understand it. They're cool to do it, but they just don't understand the dangers of springtime water hydrology, because water stays very cold, deceptively cold. You'll think it's sunny out, it's 72 degrees outside, so I'm taking my kayak out, but you fall over because there's a lot of springtime bees flying around your head, and now you're in icy cold water without a life jacket. So we're really pushing to kind of make that a thing, you know, just kind of educating the general public about the importance of that. We want everyone to enjoy themselves come springtime, but it is the most dangerous time when it comes to kayaking. So definitely stay tuned on our page. We're going to try to do virtual seminars too. We have tutorial videos on there. There's a lot of stuff we have. So we'll kind of open it up to you guys. Do you guys have any comments, concerns, questions, anything for us at all?
How many days do you go without being in water?
How many days do we go without being in water? Tough one. Joe is definitely in the water more than I am. This guy has been known to go to the, well, when he gets to the water, he can be there for 8 hours and not get tired, which I need a couple hours in the water and I start to get tired for the day and put it up. But weather depending, it just, if the water is running, we'll most likely try to be there. So this time of year it's tough, you know, but we do have pool sessions at least, I want to say once a week, but it's like once every 2 weeks. As we get in there, that's where we usually go to kind of train and keep our rolls like steady until there. There is options to go out and paddle. I mean, these guys in the back, they paddled Christmas Eve when it was like -2 outside. They had snow on their beards and they were out there running the Little Miami. So some people are crazy enough to do it all the time anytime the water's out. You know who you are back there.
For the past 6 years.
So it's incredible. Very inspiring because I've done my share of winter paddling. I think the coldest I ever kayaked was on Cedar Creek and it was 16 degrees outside. And I said I would never do it again. Because we paddled it and we were fine, but I couldn't get my life jacket off because the buckle was covered in ice. I was like, I had to sit there and wait in the car, let it heat up before I could undo my. It was a cold day. I didn't flip, thankfully. I didn't want to.
I capsized and had to roll in Pennsylvania. But it
It's
wasn't
not
that
fun.
bad. I was kind of warm at that point.
I feel like if you flip in icy water, you just assume you're an Inuit and you just become one with the water and roll up like it's nothing new. It could be good. He'll do rolls on purpose in the cold just to do them. You
I
would
was
think you'd
thinking
roll
about
just
it
to
and I
have to,
got
but
pinned
he'll-
and had to do it on accident.
won't even have a crowd. He'll just do it because he likes to.
Joe, what's the most rolls you think you've done one day?
700,
Not continuous.
but no, just all day. Yeah.
No, that's
I try to
untrue.
do 500 a week on my off season. I usually spread that out between 2 days, but I can get it done in 1 day.
So you guys were talking about cleaning up the creek or the river down by Springfield?
Yeah.
Well, with all that crap in the rivers and flipping around upside down, are you afraid you're gonna hit something?
It just depends where you go. There's certain, in all likelihood, where we paddle in Springfield, it's like a play park. It's called Snyder Park. So it's like water features. So like it's little white water features that go through, and they're very deep. So it's very deep pools and some shallow eddies. But we haven't really come into any problems in there. It's really just the trash outside the river, like bottles and cans and stuff. And we have a good group that comes by. You ever heard of Curtis Castro? He's the onion bag guy. So the onion bag litter prevention project that he's got going on, he has thousands of onion bags that he makes, and we kind of take them there every time. They're the best bags to kind of get into because all the water drains out of them, and you can kind of get our little thing. We always kind of have a little meet up and clean up the area before we paddle it. It makes it a more enjoyable experience, especially for new paddlers. And I'm also in talks with the Springfield City committee. They're going to try to have an onion bag station put at Snyder Park. So there's 2 of them right now. There's one's in Clear Creek, and the other one's at where we had our cleanup.
Sayota Audubon.
Sayota Audubon, yeah, there's 2.
Sayota Audubon National Park.
Yeah, it's a little onion bag station where it has his little logo and his website, and then there's just like a little thing where you can pull that. We want to have that in Springfield because the city really took notice. That was huge for us, and it was huge for the city itself because they cleared out. I met one of the locals there. I forget his name now, but he told me 2 weeks before our cleanup, they were talking about closing the park down for good because it was being overrun. There was a homeless problem. And after our big cleanup, they brought Caterpillar bulldozers in, and he said that's the first time in 20 years he's ever seen Caterpillar bulldozers. And they kind of removed, so if you think where Snyder Park is, it's the river, and then there's the parking lot, it's a little dirt parking lot, then there's the main road, and then there's railroad tracks. So on the other side of the railroad tracks, there's greenery under the trees, and that's where we removed a lot of abandoned encampments. There was tarps and trash and all kinds of stuff there. Even to this day, it's clear. If you go there now and you look through, it's all clear, and he said, I've never seen that. So it's not saying we completely did that, but at least it motivated the city to maintain it for us, because 8 to 9 months later, we're getting texts saying, hey, Snyder Park's like unusually clean. Does anybody know what's going on with that? And I'm like, yeah, Water Safety Line was down there a few months ago.
Dogs and cats missing out of it.
I don't worry
A
about
little
it.
bit, yeah. Just a tad.
But sometimes I'm worried about like getting snagged on a stick. Like when if I'm rolling, if I'm alone, I would worry about a stick. But I'm gentle, so if I hit a rock, I'm usually pretty gentle about that. But it would be kind of scary to get snagged on a stick.
Yeah, there's not too many obstacles down there that we've noticed. They even have told us, because sometimes there's like trees that kind of hang down a little bit uncomfortably low. And the guy running the Conservancy District told me that if there's anything they need removed from the river, like a tree down or any kind of big debris, that they would help us remove that. So if we need something industrial, then we can definitely have it done. But that creek is like really inviting for new paddlers, because you kind of get everything there. You get like tiny whitewater rapids, you get a lot of flat water, and it's a beautiful stretch. There's trees covering the whole way down. You wouldn't think you're in an urban environment. You would really think that this is some out in nature somewhere. And then you see a shopping cart, and it's like, oh, maybe it's not. We tried to get all of them out. The locals have told me the biggest problem now with Buck Creek is a lot of traffic cones. So that might be our focus this time. We might try to make something fun out of it, cone themed cleanup. I don't know how we'll do that. But maybe give someone, have like a little prize, like a little prize thing. The winner, whoever gets the most cones out of the river, can win a prize. Something fun like that.
How many shopping carts did you pull out?
24. It was 24, and to this day, the most recent run they did was a few weeks ago, and there's one. But it could have been one that we missed, because they said it was embedded. Embedded under a tree. Like you barely see the top part of it. And there were some that were like that, but these guys, there's a picture of them all the way in the ground. Like the top of the shopping cart's the only thing you see. It's embedded in the riverbed. You're like, they're never getting that out.
The physical cart, I thought
Yeah.
that meant you were filling 24.
No, the whole shopping cart, yeah, there was 24 whole shopping carts. And some of them were really embedded in the river, so they used like these Z-drag systems where they tied rope around it, and then they got on the hill and just manned it out of there, and then dragged it up the hill and
I
out.
paddled 2 at a time in a canoe.
Yeah, you were out there, Jay was out there getting down and dirty, pulling some of that. Appreciate you, sir. All of my volunteers did great. I tell them, like we organized that event, so like we get some credit, but all the credit really goes to my volunteers that day, because they were getting down and dirty, really exceeded the expectations that we originally planned for that project. So because of that, they put us in the Springfield Sunday newspaper, and the city itself kept me in the loop. They were like, keep us posted. We want to know more. Like when you do more events, let us know, send us pictures. So they're really on board, really gets us excited. It means that we kind of made a little bit of a difference, and we can bring new people there. It's just a great place to learn. If you're any kind of kayaker, you can have some fun. You can get in a tube, an inflatable tube, and float down Snyder Park, and you'd be perfectly fine. It's just not recommended to go there after heavy rain. That's always a disclaimer. That's kind of every river, but especially Buck Creek, because they have signs posted about sewage outflow. So I wouldn't advise going right after rainfall, but it's generally maintained throughout the year. And in the spring, or not spring, the fall time, late September, they do recreational releases every weekend. So from late September to late November, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they give us a flow of 151 CFS, which means cubic feet per second. Every river is measured differently, but that's like the basic amount of flow you get for a run. Be a little dumpy in some spots, you hit a couple of rocks sliding through, but you can get any kind of kayak. We've gotten canoes through. Like our cleanup was pretty much a base flow, and we were able to get 2 big canoes through there and pull all that stuff and still being able to float down the river. So that's very, very cool that they do that for us. It keeps it alive, and hopefully, we just keep building it to a point. I want to have a pavilion built there. There's so much I would like to do with that park. I'd like to have, signs posted with helmets and life jackets and all that stuff. So we're working on it. You got to do it one step at a time, but that's been kind of our focus point. We're also going to go to Cleveland this summer, because we were just up there for the boat show this last weekend, spent 4 days up there, doing paddle demonstrations, and a lot of people were interested in our river cleanup program, but they're all in Cleveland. They're like, you come up here, we'll help you, and there's a lot of, you know, nonprofits up there that want to help us. So we'll be up there at some point. We've been down to Cincinnati. I want to go to Mohican, try to attack that area, because any place that has, like, if you ever see a picture and there's 100 kayaks in it, it means it's dirty. That's all that means. It's great that it's commercially kayaked area, but that means there's trash everywhere. So I'm gonna be in cahoots with them. I'm gonna try to contact their park staff too, see if we can get down there at some point. We usually start around March, April is like our first big cleanup, and then we try to do one every month. It gets tricky in the summertime because there's like poison ivy, there's overgrowth, there's a lot of things that happen in late summer that make it kind of difficult to clean up those areas, which is why April is such a good time. It's warm and nothing has grown back yet. So you can kind of get under all the bushes, all the trash that's there. So it has its challenges, but we're working our way through, and then eventually, hopefully, we can get bigger sponsors. And my restaurant that I work for BJ's Brewhouse, they sponsored 2 of my events. Our cleanup in August, they did a $300 catering order for pizza, and they also donated a $50 gift card for my motocross race. So they're also willing to help us too. So if you come out to our events, we'll feed you, you know, we'll get you to learn something new. There's a lot you can learn just hanging out with us. Even if you don't want to paddle, you can just come hang out, you know, learn something new, see something. We're always trying to do cool stuff to wow the locals. So we'll always get questions. We'll be surfing in the wave and they'll be like, is he trying to go above there? What is he trying to do there? Is he trying to fight the current? We don't understand what he's doing. We're like, he's out there having fun. I do freestyle kayaking, so I do like, there's tricks in your boat, something called a stern stall, where you can stand up in your boat, like kind of hold the boat vertical in the water, and I'm out there balancing. Just did this at the boat show. This guy came over to me, he was like, I was about to render you a hand of assistance. He's like, were you struggling right there? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, man, I was just hanging out. I'm just sitting there. He thought I got stuck up there and couldn't get out. Like I was just trying to, he was like, I genuinely was about to put my hand to you to see if you needed help. It's very fun interacting with the general public. They love it. They get a good kick out of it. And the river cleanups are what really have been driving us recently. Like it's one thing to take them out in the river, but you gotta clean it up first. That's like our whole theory. We want to do guided river trips. We want to have more kayakers involved, but we want to have it cleaned up first. So it's only so much you can do, but when you inspire a whole town like that to really maintain it for you, that means that it's possible. And hopefully with our efforts, we can have some, like a modernized version of Snyder. Because I've seen more whitewater parks being built, and I've met people who have been the pioneers of them being built. They didn't build them, but they said the right things to the right people, and they were able to have those parks constructed eventually. I'd love to have one in Columbus, because, you know, Quarry Trails, one day, we should have a whitewater channel going through there. I'm telling you, there's...
It's actually kind of sort of on the agenda.
It needs to be, man, I'm telling you.
You just need enough water.
Yeah.
That's why I will say, on a really high flow day, you actually can't get over the little.
Yeah, some of our guys have been down there high flow. This guy
I played
has
there
a
a few times.
couple inches of rain, and you'll get a whitewater feature down there for sure. Won't be the cleanest whitewater feature, but it'll be, it's not a Buck Creek whitewater feature. Is it fed out of the Scioto? Is that what that is? Like,
No,
No, it's not, so it's isolated, so the river's actually quite lower, so to get the water flow in there, they just put in a pump. Build a pump of
that's what I was
water.
thinking. I'm like, we can do it like Oklahoma City and get some hydraulic pumps put in there.
Yeah.
I don't know, that would probably cost like $6 million, but it's an
Yeah,
idea.
so yeah, I think it's quite a few $1 million project, but the river ironically is so much lower than the quarry, so there's, you can't, doesn't connect.
We'll get 6 million kayakers to come here and charge them $1 a piece to attend,
Done.
and then we can
Do
get
it.
it.
It's gonna be a big goal for BJ's.
A little bit, yeah. I'll be like, hey, we gotta feed 6 million people, guys. Like, they're a California franchise. They'll be okay. Awesome. Any other questions, guys? Good back there?
How many volunteers do you have?
It really depends. We're more of like a sign-up type deal. I would say we have anywhere between 10 to 20 at any major event. The one that we just did in Springfield, we had 25, I think, total, including me. And we've had cleanups with just 4 of us, and then cleanups with 25. It really kind of just depends on like the day of the week. We like to do a lot of our events on Sundays. That's like the day we like to get out the most. Typically Saturday or Sunday, and then through the week is when we post on our page, like try to get a tutorial video in there or an event shared for something coming up. Like this is going to be our focus after this. We're going to start thinking about the Adventure Summit, because that place is going to give us pool access following the Adventure Summit. They have a really nice pool in there in their student union, and we're working out a deal. And thanks to the Keel Haulers Canoe Club, which are in Cleveland, they are also the oldest running paddling club in the entire Midwest. They've been around since the 60s, and they still are able to grant that for us. We can get under their insurance. It's $1 million insurance policy, and then we're able to have pool access there. The only thing is, you have to be a member of the keel haulers. I'll have that disclaimer there. It's just $20 a year. It'll cover your whole year, and it all goes towards conservation efforts. That doesn't go into anybody's pocket. All their memberships goes towards maintaining rivers and maintaining what they do for the community as well. So a big shout out to the keel haulers. They actually have pool access in Cincinnati because of them. So they're kind of getting all around. They're what I want to be eventually. Like Water Safe Ohio will eventually be as cool as the keel haulers, but we consider them our sister partner, sister company, because they have a lot that they do up there. Akron University, they have pool sessions up there. And the goal is to get a pool session every other week in February and March. And maybe April too, depending on, I don't know what the contract's gonna look like, but if you're near Fairborn, late February, come check us out. It's gonna be a fun time.
TJ, we back up to that awesome photo that you picked.
Yeah,
Just
which
wanted
one?
to clear you guys with it up there.
Yeah.
And then
Which one? Was it the?
The very first one.
Oh, the very first one? Yeah.
Yeah. And then, Columbus Paddling Group, also just club, sorry. Mary's worked really hard and partnered with key haulers on that also.
Yeah, she has.
Have
Gehenna,
three
right?
sessions, Yeah.
I think February 1st, February 15th, and then that first weekend of March.
That's very cool because a lot of people have been asking about pool access in Columbus.
But yeah, so
We also have Columbus Paddling Club cards over here, if anybody wants to take one interested in that program, and they do a lot of cool stuff too. They have a membership, and one of the few clubs that are in the Columbus area that do stuff locally. We try to get out to everywhere, which is why the keel haulers are so great. They've had us, there's pool access in Cincinnati, Gehenna now, and hopefully Wright State, so that would kind of almost cover the entire state of Ohio. That's what we're kind of getting to here. Because you'll learn everything you can in a pool. I mean, you get a nice warm pool, you get all your facilities there. We provide all the gear, we provide the boats, and even Wright State has a fleet of boats that they have in their pool as well. Like underneath the bleachers, they have a whole little secret compartment area. It's got all these cool whitewater boats. So I'm like, you kind of have to have us if you're gonna have boats here. That's gonna be my argument. I'm like, I can fill your pool up with 20 people, charge them $10 a pop. That'll pay for the lifeguard, that'll pay for the fee to actually use the pool, because a lot of them charge you a hefty fee just to use the entire pool. Usually it's like $23 per lane per hour, so it can get expensive, but with the right amount of people. And they'll also let me teach people for the first time, so I'll be offering first time role lessons there as well. I've been teaching for about 3 or 4 years now, and I've had a lot of success. And Joe is on his way to being a certified instructor too, because he's taught me a lot, and he's gonna be getting himself certified here real soon.
May, I hope.
Yeah, in May he's gonna be going there. I'm trying to get I'm a Swift Water workshop. I took one of those a couple of years ago. I'm trying to get recertified in that. But generally, we just teach people how to kayak and how to roll. So, and we try to keep it going all year long. So I do appreciate everybody for coming here. I forgot to thank my virtual audience. Hopefully they were okay with me just cutting them off there. I just didn't want to lose my phone battery. But I do appreciate you guys taking your time out on a cold Thursday to come hang out with us. If you have any questions or even just want to check us out, like I said, take a business card, give us a phone call, shoot us a text, whatever you guys want to do. And I hope to see you guys at future events. We're going to try to really kind of pull in. Like I said, Prairie Oaks is going to be a park that we go to a lot. We'll be, trying to think of the name of it, Audubon will be there. Scioto Fest will be going on.
Yeah, we'd love to try to organize some more stuff with you guys.
Yeah, if you ever want us to do like a demo in any kind of water, we can do this in the water now if you want us to. Like, just let us know. You can set it up as like a live Inuit demonstration in actual icy water. And we'll do that for you.
That'd be really cool.
I'm good for like 25, 35 rolls and.
Yeah, we'll do a couple
Not
icy
ice,
rolls for the
as long as
crowd. Why
it's not
not?
ice.
Just give me one of these. I have to have one of these when I'm gonna do that. Greenland paddle all the way.
Thank you guys so much for.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I
There's.
appreciate it.
Don't forget stickers. Don't forget your seals.
Plenty of
Very
stickers.
important. Thanks again, guys. Thanks.
What's up, y'all? Let me check the comments. Holla, holla, holla. Thanks. All right. Appreciate you guys. I'm gonna jump off here now.
Yeah, they're cool. They got the key on.
See you on the river.
I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten that far yet.
What up?